Hey everyone, today we are going to be looking at budgeting and beginning our conversation about what it means to have a budget and how you can go about budgeting effectively to control your finances. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the components of a budget and some of the vocabulary that goes around budgeting. We start with a simple concept, which is that a budget is simply telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. It's the idea that you should be in control of your money, that you should be proactive in managing what it does. And you shouldn't simply wonder where your money went. You should know where it went and you should know what its purpose is, whether it's to pay your bills or to go towards retirement or to pay for your house, or if it's just to blow on something silly and frivolous and just use it as a way to do something fun, right? Every single dollar you earn should have a purpose, and the budget helps you make sure that that's the case. So when you put your budget together, there are four sort of categories that you need to be focused on. One, and the first most important, is income. How much money is coming in for you to spend? You can't budget if you don't know how much you're making. So income is essential. Then we go to giving and saving. And these are two things that are important to many, many people, but oftentimes get left until the end when there's not any money left over. So the idea here is that if giving, being philanthropic, if supporting your community is important to you, you need to do that first. If saving for the things that you want to spend on is important to you, then you need to do that first. So we talked about savings in the last unit and the importance of paying yourself first, and that's what we're essentially saying here with your budget is make sure that you set aside money for the things that you want in the future now and make that the priority, and then you can spend what's left, and that's where you begin to learn to live on what's left. You learn how to live on less than you earn, and by doing so you make sure that you have enough money for the things that are important for you, for things like cars and college and houses and vacations and all those other things that are expensive and require you to save over time. When it comes to spending, there are different types of expenses that you should keep in mind. One is fixed expense, which means it stays the same each month. It doesn't change. It's very predictable and it makes it very easy to budget because you know from month to month to month exactly how much you are going to be spending. So an example of a fixed expense might be your rent, which stays the same during the term of your lease, or your car payments, or your student loan payments, or your phone charges each month tend to be fixed expense for most people because you're not paying for every minute that you are on your cell phone. Streaming plans are fixed; they don't change from month to month; they stay the same. Cost of cable is fixed versus variable expenses, and variable expenses are ones that change from month to month. You don't know how much you're going to spend on certain things in one particular month, and so you need to sort of have a plan. You may not know how much each month, but you certainly have an idea or may have an idea of how much you plan to spend over the coming year. And so you can build a sinking fund to help cover those expenses. An example might be home repairs, where you don't know how much you need to spend in this month because you don't know what's going to break, but you have a general idea that over the course of the year, maybe you need to spend about $5,000 on home repairs. And if that's the case, then you would take your $5,000 in expected costs for your maintaining your home and divide it by 12, and that would tell you how much you need to put aside every month to try and make sure that you have money available to fix your house when you need it. So all sorts of things are variable in nature. As sort of a check, take a look at these options. Think for a moment about what you think might be variable. Pause the video, um, determine what you think is variable, and then when you're ready, press play again and see if you're correct. If you paused and thought about it, hopefully you said that car repairs, because we talked about that, are in fact variable. Vacation costs are variable because you don't go on the same vacation from year to year. Even if you did, hotel bills, food bills, they're all different from month to month, let alone from year to year. How much you spend on clothes every month is different. How much you spend on gas is different. It depends on how much you drive and what the price of gasoline is that month. And so those are all variable expenses. They change from month to month. We also have what are known as intermittent expenses. Those are things that come up every once in a while, but are not a monthly expense. They're not something that you pay every single month. For example, buying a yearbook is an intermittent expense. You don't pay that every single month, you pay it once a year. Student fees are a once a year intermittent expense. Discretionary expenses are ones that are needs, not wants, and they can be fixed or variable, they can be intermittent. But the idea is you don't have to pay them versus sort of your required spending. Things like rent is essentially required, like housing expenses. But coffee at Starbucks is discretionary in nature. And it's those discretionary expenses that you can sort of control. And being able to control those discretionary expenses may free up the money that you're looking for to be able to save for bigger items like a car or for college or something like that. Now you can take a little bit of practice here. Again, I would pause the video and see if you can determine which of these expenses are fixed, which are variable, and which may also fall under the heading of intermittent. And when you're ready, press play and see how you did. Here's a one way to look at the costs. So check your work, see if it makes sense. If not, then let me know and we can talk about it privately. Now, when it comes to budgets, we're going to advise you to use what's known as a zero-based budget. We'll talk more about it in next class. But the idea of a zero-based budget is that it gives you full control over your money. You are making sure that every single dollar has a name or a purpose, that you are putting it towards some reason or use. And that way, you have full control. Again, you're not wondering, where did my money go? You know exactly where your money went because every dollar is either set aside for spending or for saving. And that means that your money is working for you and you are in control of what it does for you. And so that you are ensuring that you have the money for what is most important to you. And then if you don't have enough money to cover other things that you're interested in, then you have some choices to make. You either modify your spending plan, or you give those up for now, or you earn more money to pay for them. But in any event, you now have the ability to say, I can save for the things I want, and I can learn to live on what's left. And suddenly your income is a little bit more in control, and your spending is more in control, and you feel like you can actually accomplish the things that you want to accomplish within your means because you have a specific plan that you've put together. Now, there are some apps that may be helpful to you because you do have to sort of monitor your spending and keep track of what you're doing to make sure that you're actually sticking to your budget. There's no point in a budget if all you do is put it down on paper at the beginning of the month and then never look at it again, because odds are pretty good you're not going to follow it. So some options available to you which may be helpful. Mint has a wonderful app that helps you track your spending and also tracks money coming into your account, income, and other things. You Need a Budget is another app that you can use, as well as Every Dollar. Now, all of these apps have a paid version, which gives you a lot of flexibility and some more resources. But I believe you can use at least some of these for free at sort of a basic level, even if you don't use an app and just put it down on paper. The important thing is that you continue to monitor and check how you are doing every few weeks just to make sure that you're staying on track. If you are not staying on track, then you'll have to make changes, which is perfectly fine. The world is unexpected. It is not something you can control entirely, and so things will come up. And when they do, you will need to make some choices. And that means that if you have to spend more on one category than you planned, you'll have to spend less in another category in order to make everything balance out. So some things to keep in mind when it comes to making a budget. One, pay yourself first. Save first. Give money to charity that you plan to give first. Make that savings a absolute priority for you from the beginning, and then learn to live on less than you make. Also, make sure that you're including fun in your budget. Budgeting doesn't mean you can't go out and enjoy yourself. It means that you have to set aside money to allow yourself to have fun within your means, so that you don't spend so much time having fun and so much money having fun that you don't have money left over to do the important things like retirement or saving for a car or whatever it is that you have in mind. Make sure to monitor your progress throughout the month to make sure that you're staying on track, and then adjust or make changes as necessary. So if you end up having to spend money you didn't plan on, that means you're going to have to give it up somewhere else. If you don't, the alternative basically will be that you end up falling into debt. The budgeting process itself is not difficult. The hard part is actually living with it. But if you do this month after month after month, you'll get better and better and better at it, and it will become easier and easier and easier for you to do. We'll talk more about the specific process of budgeting next time.